And this episode is brought to you by lynda.com. Hey, you're watching Swerve on YouTube, and this is episode 7 of Slow Mo Mondays, and today I'm feeling a bit under the weather. However, I'm still able to teach you, so today we're going to be learning how to shade and light your scene or character. And today's special guest is Homer Simpson. And before we even start to shade our scene, I want you to understand how lighting works. Some of you do, some of you don't. So I just want to show you quickly how it works. So when working with lighting, you need to know where your light is coming from, the light source and direction it's facing. So I'm going to put the light somewhere around here, and I'm going to have it directing in this direction. So anything facing towards this light is going to have light, and anything on the other side or facing away will have shade. So take this for example, the donut would have light in this area, it would have light also in this area. So this area would have shade and the back would have shade as well. For Homer's head, you would have light in this area, you would have light over here, you would have light on the eyes on the front, and around the back you would have shade as well. So you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to say, and it just goes on the tip as well. And for the arm, you would have the light underneath and the light just above every single area. So for the t-shirt, it's going to be a bit more tricky because there's wrinkles and everything like that. So this area would have light all the way till here, and then you'll continue like that. And for the color, you would have light just in this section here. So this area would be shade, and for this area you would have shade here and light pretty much around this area and light around here. And yeah, that's pretty much the idea of how light works. So stay tuned for next stage, and I'm going to be showing you how to implement shading using the pencil and making this illustration have depth. So I'll see you then. So now that we've understood how lighting works, we can now get into the nitty gritty and start with our shading. So what I wanted to say was I've left this illustration in the description below, so make sure to download it and follow along with this tutorial because it's going to be pretty awesome. So we're going to start off here, and then we're going to take it into Photoshop and then do our little, Photoshop magic on it. So I'm going to click on shading quickly and get rid of the highlights so we can get down to the business. So I'm going to get our pen tool and I'm going to change the color to a dark black. Right, so now that I've done that, we can now zoom in. And if you have a photographic memory, you'll notice how the light was in this section, and you'll know where all the lighting was. So you got to start off from here, from the top, go around this point, and because he's got an eyebrow bulge, you would stop here, go around like this, and then come back like that, if you get what I mean. So from this point, we could either stop here and close it off, or we could continue. I like to make sure that my shadows are all one shadow. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to go down like this and around like that. So that's just the eyeshadow. And then from here, we can use the line work to change the direction of our pen tool. So we're going to continue like this, go up for the nose, follow the line work, go back. And then from this point, we can go like this. And for every curve, like let's say the lip has a bulge, you would create a little curve just to represent the bulge of the lip. And now we're going to move on to the tongue. and go from here like this. And because there's light in this area, there's going to be shadow on the other side like that. And then when you do this on a regular basis, you kind of get an idea of how shading is meant to be, even without the lighting and stuff like that. And it just becomes easier later on. So from this point, we can now go down like that. I like to go down all the way to the chest because there's still going to be shading around here. And then we can close it off. So I like to follow the line and go around like that. And then continue going around until you reach the final point. So for this bit, you don't have to be too clean, because what I've basically done is made sure that the color is under the layer. So what we can do now is select the shading and the shape of the head, and we can use our shape builder to get rid of that section holding Alt and clicking on the area you don't want. Right, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like when I change the shadow to a less harsh, black. So I'm going to change the opacity down to, let's say, a 38. And now you can see how it adds depth to the illustration. Homer now looks alive. So I'm going to change the transparency to overlay, and I'm going to increase the opacity quickly, and it looks much better. So what we're going to do now is focus on the arm and the stomach and maybe the fingers. So I'm going to get a pencil again and do the same exact thing around here. So from this point you go like that, go up like that, and then we're just going to make a little curve around here and go like that. And we can just go around, we can be messy as we want, and we can just continue again and do the same exact thing. So just keep on going around, take your time, make sure it looks as nice as you want it to look. And the good thing about shading is that once you've already done one shade, you can just click on this one and click I and copy that one to it. Alright, so it's starting to pick up shape. So there was lighting around here, there was lighting above. So underneath this area, there won't be any lighting. So we're going to add a shadow somewhere around here. So we can do this. Whoops, wrong place. Yeah, somewhere around here, just a little shadow. And we're just going to go around like that. I think I put that in the wrong layer. So what I need to do is lock all the other layers apart from the shading layer. That way we don't get confused with which layer we're using. So I'm going to do the same thing again and go around the outline. And then I'm going to press I and copy the other layer. So you just keep on doing that all the way around and it'll look pretty awesome. Alright, so for this section, we're just going to add a shadow like that. And you don't have to do it exactly the same as me. It can be different. You can change it up and make it your own and stuff like that. And for the stomach, let's see. Alright, so for the stomach, I'll start around here and go like that. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so we can go like this. So make a point around here. And then this area would be like this. So doing this would basically make like a bulge effect again. So my mouse is playing up a bit, bear with me. Alright, so from this point We can now go around like that for the stomach, just to make it look really round. And then come back like this. And this bit's a bit tedious because the shirt doesn't have a shape builder kind of thing to it. It's pretty hard to explain, but I'm just gonna go around the outline just to speed things up. Alright, so I'm gonna speed this bit up and I'll come back when it's nearly finished. Alright, so the shading's nearly finished. I'm reaching the last points. So right about here is where it ends. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the other highlight. So I'm going to press I and select. And now we see a problem. So basically on white, you can't have an overlay because it just won't show. So we're going to change that back to normal. And we're just going to change the opacity down. I'm going to change it to 16. And if we go out like this, you'll see how nice it looks. And we're just going to go around on the t-shirt again. So on the arm of the t-shirt, we're going to have a shadow going like this. And just go around. And just copy the t-shirt overlay, not this one, just that one. And then here's the bit I was talking about. So for the color, you can basically leave this area with light. So we're gonna go around here like that. And the reason we're doing this is because the light actually bleeds further in to the t-shirt. And then we're just going to go around like this and go down. So at this point, we could either change the opacity just so we can see what we're doing. And we're just going to go around like that. And we're going to copy that bit. So it's now looking pretty nice. So what else do we need to do? Let me think. All right, so the collar relief under this bit would definitely have shadow. All right, I think I'm gonna miss a bit. I'm not sure, but if I do, just leave it in a comment saying what I missed. Alright, so this bit is pretty hectic. Let me think. Alright, so for this bit, what I love to do is go around like that. Whoops. And as you can see, this bit has a lot of sections. So you wouldn't continue all the way, you wouldn't continue all the way around here. You would just curve it off here and close it and just go around, and then you'd continue the other points in different sections. Alright, so at this point we don't really need to change it to make it transparent at the moment. But we can do it once we've finished all of them, so we can do it all at once. Alright, so this is the bit I was talking about. So we can do these bits separately. And just continue here. Like that. And I'm just going to continue like that again, and we're pretty much finished. So I'm going to select all of these holding shift, and I'm going to group them together and change it to the overlay. Maybe not that one, this one. Yeah, perfect. All right, so we've got that overlay, and I think I like it like this. So we can keep it like this, definitely. One more thing actually, we may need to do the color above like that. Alright, so I'm going to stop here. And I think that's pretty much it for Homer. What I really want to show you is how to do the shading for the donut. And before we do that, one last thing for Homer, sorry about that. I'm going to get the pencil quickly. And because there's lighting above here, there will be shade just underneath here. Just subtle. Like that. Oh yeah, and I forgot the eyes as well. Alright, so I need to do the eyes as well. Alright, so I'm going to do the eyes. Alright, so it seems that I did do the eyes, but overlays don't work on white, so it's not showing through. So I'm going to have to do them separately. Like that. And for the other one, we can do the same like that. But for this one, we're going to have to create a different bulge because it's reflecting. The shadow is basically acting as the shadow of the other eye, if you get what I mean. And we're just going to go through like that. Perfect. Alright, so Homer's pretty much done. Now it's time to move on to the donut. And this bit's pretty much fun, and it's simple as well. So as you can see, the donut's pretty wavy, so we need to replicate that with our shading. So what I mean by this is that we're going to start off like this, wavy like that, and we're just going to continue all the way around like that. I'm going to go around, doesn't have to be too clean. And we're going to select the brown bit of the donut. So we need to go back to our layers and unlock our colors and select the brown bit. And what we're going to do is use the shape builder tool to get rid of the bit we don't want. And we're going to select this area. And we're going to select Homer's color. All right. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can change the opacity down a bit. So it's got shape now. So we're going to do the inside bit. So you're probably noticing how easy it gets once you do a few and you just know where everything is going to be next. It's just pretty simple. Alright, so I'm going to select this area. I'm going to get rid of the center. Whoops, wrong place. So I'm going to copy this area like that. And it's looking pretty sweet. So I think we've pretty much done the shade for everything. So now we can focus on the highlights and making it pop a bit more. So for Homer, what we can do is basically get our pencil again, change the color to white, and this bit is going to be probably the trickiest and has to be very precise. So we're going to make little strips of white to make highlights behind the head. So I'm going to go like that, like that. We can stop around here. And go around like this. So you're just going to do this all around the head of Homer on the shadow side, because basically what we're basically getting is a reflection from the objects behind him on the back of his head. Right, so I'm just going to stop it here like that, and I'm going to speed this bit up, and I'm going to meet you once it's finished. Alright, so now we're back. You can now see that it looks a lot much better with a white highlight behind the back of the shadow. And I've put a little highlight over here because the light is coming a little bit from this way as well with the reflection. So we've got a light coming this way, which is the main light. We've got shading, and then we've got the reflection of the objects behind him, or the white background behind him, hitting and, you know, creating a little highlight on his body. So we might actually do a little bit for the donut. So somewhere around here, I'm just going to go around again like this. So I call this the specular highlight. I'm just going to continue like that. And we can select this area, hold Alt and delete. Whoops, maybe not putting it there. Maybe we can put it somewhere else. Maybe we could start from a different angle. Alright, so I'm going to put a highlight in the areas where it actually needs it. So the donut doesn't need a highlight because it's too far away from the source, so that's why it looks weird. So with this bit we can just play around, and I like to create a little, you know, stroke around here like so, and it can look like that, and then we can make little specular highlights and just go around like that. Yeah. And as you can see, it's pretty much building up to a shiny glazed donut, and it looks more attractive for Homer to eat. Alright, so we can add a bit of white here and a little bit over here just to make it pop. Maybe a big one over here to make it look really nice. And we can keep it pretty much simple. Right, so I'm going to get rid of that extra one, and I'm going to select all 4 of these, and I'm going to change the opacity down to 39. And what I can basically do, actually let's increase it. Alright, let's increase it a bit. Let's say 85. Alright, so 85, pretty nice. Oh, alright, so now we've basically finished the shading and lighting in Illustrator. We can take it into Photoshop and take it to that next step. So today's sponsor is lynda.com, and if you don't know about lynda.com, then I think it's about time you did. If I could sum up lynda.com in 2 words, it would be absolutely amazing. You know, lynda.com have a ton of tutorials, all the way from graphic design to 3D animation. You can learn pretty much anything you want. And if you type in lynda.com/swerve, you get a 10-day free trial with unlimited access to all the tutorials on the lynda.com website. That's basically all the ammunition you need to become a pro. And you know what? If you like what you see, then you can subscribe and become a full member of lynda.com. And just remember, that's lynda.com/swerve for a 10-day free trial. Alright, so we forgot to do a few things in Illustrator before we went into Photoshop. So, the thing that we forgot to do was to add a backdrop behind the hand to make it look like the hand is above the text. So I'm going to use the pen tool, make sure that the color layer selected, and you want to just replicate the hand as it is above. I'm just going to do the finger. Going like that, and you can offset it a bit just so it looks realistic. Alright, so at this stage what we can do is hold Ctrl Shift and the square bracket key going backwards, and we're going to change the opacity down to, let's say, 25. Alright, so for the other finger it's kind of above, so I'm just going to do that little section over there. And I'm going to use I and select that color. Alright, so that's pretty much done and set for Illustrator. Now it's time to take it into Photoshop, but before we do that we need to export it. So I'm going to go to save for web, just so it's the smallest size possible, and make sure that your percentage is set to 100 and it's set to PNG 24. And I'm going to save it as do not touch on my desktop and click save. Alright, so now that that's saved, we can now head into Photoshop. Okay, so now that we're in Photoshop, it's time to take our illustration to the next level. So what we're going to do is get our new layer. And if you haven't seen my previous tutorial, which was the Spotify part 2, check it out, because the brush that I'm going to use now is from that video and it's in that description as well. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, let's continue. So what brushes do we have? Alright, so we have this one. And I'm just going to make it normal. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is minimize the brush by using the square bracket keys, and I'm just going to click once. Alright, so this is basically the sugar coming from the sky onto the donut, tempting Homer to take the donut, but he's not allowed to touch it. So this is layer 1, and I'm going to name this Frost. Alright, And what I want to do now is go to the mask option below. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to get a new brush, and this is just going to be the basic one. And what I'm going to do with this is make sure that the color palette is set to black, and I'm going to rub out everything else. Right. So this is a non-destructive way of getting rid of something, if you get what I mean. All right, so now we need to change it back to white, and what we're going to do is a little dab like so. So it's only going to appear in the area that you click on. Make sure that you've selected this box on the right, and you're pretty much set. So that looks really nice. All right, so new layer. What I'm going to do is the same exact thing but without a mask. So I'm just going to create a brush blob kind of thing. I'm going to get my brush again, and I'm going to just create a little highlight above, and I'm going to change the opacity quickly down to, let's say, I think 31 is pretty good. I'm going to change it to 21. Alright, so that looks much better. So the next thing we need to do is make a new layer. Let me name this layer first. So I'm going to name this highlight. It's always good to name your layers because sometimes you're just going to get lost in your layers, and you don't want that to happen. So next bit, we're going to do some specular highlights. So I'm going to name this specular. Pardon me. Right, so this is the specular highlights, and what we're going to do is change the size of the brush using the square bracket keys again. And what I want to do is change the flow to, let's say, 18, and I just want to select places where I want the specular highlights to pop. So that area looks nice. I would say this area, and this area as well, and this area. All right, so I'm gonna fix that bit later. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. All right, so now for the bottom bit, I want to make it look like Homer is inside the screen. So let's see what we can do here. So I'm just gonna grab the color from the background, and I'm gonna call this shadow. All right. And what I'm going to do is get my brush, increase it, and just rub around the bottom bit. Alright, that doesn't look nice, so I'm going to take that out. It's basically trial and error. I may do it once again, but that's about it. Alright, so once looks really good. It gives it a cinematic feel. Maybe not there. Maybe not there. Yeah, it gives it a cinematic feel. So I'm just going to go around like that. Do not touch. And I'm going to make a new layer. And this is just going to be the final highlight before we finish. I'm going to make it really big. And I'm going to make it white. And then what I'm going to do is undo that quickly and change the flow back to 100 so I can actually control how bright I want it. Alright, so that's donut. And that's the final highlight. I'm just going to overlay it. Perfect. Alright. So now what we can do is what I love to do all the time, and that's basically a highlight. I'm just going to go around like that with my polygon selection tool, and I'm just going to get the brush and make a little dab somewhere around here. Alright, so when you do that, it just creates a nice highlight, if you get what I mean. I'm gonna make a new layer again. Oh, that looks much better. Overlay, and we're pretty much done. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this. I may change a few bits, but you know, it's just trial and error, so just play around with it, make it look nice. And yeah, I hope to see you in another video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you in another video.